Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Rev Cassandra Rae, the spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Living, White Rock. We are an inclusive learning center of practical spirituality located in the Metro Vancouver Lower Mainland area of British Columbia, Canada. And we create sacred opportunities for wholehearted experiences of truth and spirit. Yes. Thank you for being here with me, whether you're here with me live on Zoom or whether you're tuning into our podcast or our YouTube channel. I'm so grateful for your presence. Truly, I am. And whether you are soaring or struggling or a little bit of both on your path, I'm grateful that we are here together. And so as we begin this gathering today, I respectfully acknowledge that I live and work on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish First Nations, including Coquitlam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Stalo nations. We thank these First Nations who continue to live on these lands and care for them along with the waters and all that is above and below. And so now, as we begin our time together, I invite you to just let go of everything else. Silence your devices. I'm going to do that now myself. And if you can, just be with us here now. And let's anchor our time together in prayer. I invite you to turn within. Maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just notice your breath. Notice that you are breathing, that you are being breathed, that the infinite presence of the One is alive and well right here, right now, in this very moment. At the center is the source of everyone and everything. There is this mystical, unbounded, presence. Takes my breath away, takes my words away. So I just sit here in this knowing, in this remembering, to know that there is this infinite power and presence that has created the moon and the stars and the earth and everyone, that this same power is the power that is right inside of me, that is right inside of each one here today. And may this time be a powerful remembering of this truth that each one of us has access to a creative spiritual power that is alive within us. No matter the circumstances or conditions of life, this power remains. And so I affirm a felt sense of this power, an opening of the mind, inviting in new ideas, an opening of the heart, inviting in the joy of infinite possibility. And so I just offer deep thanks for everyone who is here, for everyone who's on their way, and for everyone who has contributed to this time together, knowing that it is a gathering of infinite possibility. This is a gathering of healing power. I affirm that each and every one is nourished by this time and leaves feeling fed and inspired. That each one of us knows the next right thing for us. And so knowing that this is the truth, that this infinite presence is expressing its wholeness through each and every one of us, I let it be, and so it is. We are so blessed today with our musician who performs with us live here on Zoom. I just love that we get to connect with Theta Phoenix live and in person as we can be on Zoom, right? It's still such a treat. We get to bask in her celestial voice, her spontaneous songwriting and inspirational songs that always echo this transformative journey of the soul. She invites us to go deep, and her songs go straight to the heart. They're super relevant, always so supportive of the message and positively impacting. She's released 5 albums. She does events all over, online and throughout the lower mainland. And so, wow, I'm so grateful for you, Theta Phoenix. Please join me as we welcome her today. Yay, Theta!
Oh, thank you so much. I love being here. So I wanted to sing right now my song Butterfly from my album Legacy, and it is all about transformation and, you know, that joy that you're talking about, and joy and wonder of this human journey and that transformation. You know, sometimes we go through challenging times, but to recognize that that's all part of the birthing of the new, like the butterfly and the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. So here we go. We are children in this universe when we allow our innocence to lead, chasing butterflies across the sky and dancing through the fields. Caterpillar reaches up the tree with such a steady contemplation. He holds a secret deep inside. It's the truth of transformation. And there you are, running through the fields, soaring with the wind, gliding on the breeze. You are free. We are just the same as that caterpillar in this human game. We may look like an ordinary one, but don't be fooled. We are all children of the sun, waiting till the time is right to spread our wings, break free, and take flight. We are just the same. We are love. We are children. Oh, soaring on the breeze, butterfly, butterfly, carry me. So free. When the time is right, the caterpillar weaves itself into a cocoon. We cannot rush the process, don't want to break her out too soon. Nature has a plan, divine timing is at hand. For after the struggle you will see that butterfly flying free. And there you are, running through the fields, soaring with the wind, gliding on the breeze. You are free. So very
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Theta. So beautiful. And I'm just taking a moment as I hold Theta's words in my heart and feel that energy. Thank you. Yeah, I invite you to breathe with me. If I were to say this one word to you, what would be the first thing that comes to your mind? Zoom. And isn't it amazing how just a couple of years ago, this one word would have meant something entirely different than what it means today? No one could have predicted how vital Zoom would become in such a short amount of time. In fact, Zoom's video conferencing technology is keeping our community together during the pandemic. We're meeting on Zoom right now for this gathering. We've met online every Sunday morning since March 22nd, 2020. This is our 73rd Sunday gathering on Zoom. And there were only 19 Sundays with me as your spiritual director before everything went 100% online. That means that we've been an online community almost 4 times as long as we were an in-person community since I was hired in June of 2019. And isn't that wild? I want to acknowledge you for your commitment, dedication, and flexibility, for adjusting to this new platform and showing up even though Zoom fatigue is a very real phenomenon. And I also want to send out very special thanks to the leadership team of this community that has helped us make this transition and continue to support this community in new and different ways as needed. Thank you so much, leaders. There's been a willingness to evolve in service to the highest and best for the community. And no matter if you love or hate video conferencing or something in between, it's a part of our lives now. It's here to stay. And I'm not saying that it's replacing in-person gatherings permanently, because for sure it is not. But I am saying that it has a place, it has a role to play in some way, shape, or form, both within our community and within the larger world, as we all creatively wonder, how do we stay connected? How do we stay connected in meaningful ways? So much is shifting and changing. So much remains uncertain. We've all been trying to find our footing in these shifting times, and we're realizing that so many things we used to take for granted are no longer available. Individually and collectively, we're grieving the loss of so much. We're seeing problems we never knew we had, and we're clarifying what's important. Because we've been called to do this over an extended period of time, you may have found that your, let's call it a personal reservoir of hope, strength, joy, and optimism, your personal reservoir might have run dry. Thankfully, there's a spiritual reservoir you can draw upon that never runs dry. So today is all about finding that spiritual reservoir, connecting with that spiritual dimension within you that is always there. No matter what you face in your outer and inner life, there is a spiritual dimension that you can count on, that you can draw upon, and that wants to love you through everything. Love you through everything. So our guide this week and this month of August, is The Sovereign Self by Acharya Shunya. And Shunya, it says in this little front cover here, that she is the first female lineage holder in a 2,000-year-old line of spiritual teachers. She is a classically trained master of yoga and Ayurveda, a genuine Vedic master. So in chapter 1, let me turn to the page. And today is almost just like book reading time, because I'm going to read you a lot from the book today because it is so juicy and nourishing. But in this first quote, Shunya writes, "Behind the ordinary mind is the real power, a universally pervading intelligence, a transcendental, divine, all-knowing existence that I call the self with a capital S. Self is akin to spirit in the trio of body, mind, and spirit. It is the divine power that illumines everything and everyone, but it is itself invisible." What does this mean? That there is your ordinary thinking mind, the one that worries, evaluates, guesses, observes, etc. And in back of that ordinary mind is a divine power, a universal intelligence, and an all-knowing existence that illumines everything. We can't see the self with a capital S, much like we can't see our own face without a mirror. But we can, and we do, experience the self. And, I want you to know that in this talk today, every time I use the word self, I'm using it with a capital S. So Shunya goes on to write, he says, let me find this. "Self is pure consciousness that animates and enlivens the body and mind, and yet it continues to survive and exist even after the body ends, just like an ocean continues to exist even if a wave ends, or how electricity continues to exist even if the bulb breaks." So the pure consciousness of self is alive within you. It is the intelligence you draw upon and experience in your own mind. In fact, it is you. It is the you that continues on even after your body fades away. And Shunya clarifies, you are indeed pure consciousness, sinless, sparkling, ageless, timeless, immeasurable, pure bliss consciousness that animates your body and mind, but is never circumscribed, defined, or confined by your body or mind. So this is who you really are. You aren't your mind or your thoughts. You aren't your body. You aren't your accomplishments, your education, or your job. You aren't your fears, anxieties, or limitations. You are sinless, sparkling, ageless, timeless, immeasurable, pure bliss consciousness. This energy, this pureness, this intelligence of the self with a capital S is the essence of you. So no matter what comes along, the essence of you doesn't change. No matter the conditions you face outside of you or inside, the self in you is eternal, boundless, changeless, and free. Man, it is good to be reminded of this, because part of being human, living in the finite world, is that we forget this infinite truth. Like, we forget it on like this macro level, like everyone forgets. No, no one is exempt from this forgetting. And Shunya explains, seemingly by default, we are disconnected from our own inner spiritual dimension and live submersed in the outer material world as material bodies with material names and material addresses, enjoying our material objects, such as people and things that we possess and covet. And this is the root cause of human suffering. So the disconnection from our own inner spiritual dimension is the root cause of our suffering. When we're fully consumed by the material dimension of life, focusing only on the material world and our material bodies, we suffer because we are not just material beings. We are both spiritual and material. In fact, we are first spiritual and then material. The spiritual is eternal, the material comes and goes. So the mind draws its intelligence and the body draws its life from the boundless self. Our material experience is embedded within a spiritual dimension. And this is so important to remember right now, because when conditions are in crisis, like a global pandemic and all the loss, fear, anxiety, and uncertainty that goes with it, it's helpful to remember that all of this change is happening within the constant, boundless, changeless realm of the self with a capital S. Shunya writes, let me find my place here. Vedic wisdom reassures us that the self is always there. This never changes, and it alone is our source for abiding security, wholeness, and happiness. In fact, it is the only constant. It is the only constant. Okay, it's okay. I promise it's okay. I hope you realize by now that self with a capital S is another word for God. Here at CSL, the Centers for Spiritual Living, we often call it spirit, universe, or the infinite, or the divine, because we want you to think of it in a new way and not in the traditional way that we usually think of God. So today, I want to remind you that the presence and power of the divine is the same now during the pandemic as it was before the pandemic. God hasn't changed. Spirit hasn't changed. Circumstances have changed. Conditions have changed. And what Shunya is reminding us and teaching us is that the presence and power of the divine is right here, right inside you. God is right here. And the true state of God within is bliss. Do tell me some more, Shunya. She writes, a vast multitude of bliss is stored within us, known as Ananda in Sanskrit. You can say self and bliss are interchangeable. Pure bliss, Ananda, will arise in the river of the self because blissful is the nature of self. Blissful is the nature of self. And if bliss is the true nature of the self with a capital S, which can be found inside of you, then bliss is your true nature. In fact, the Vedas tell us that we bring bliss with us to this life. It is something that lives inside of us, and we can tend to it. You know, one of the definitions of cultivate is to devote yourself to something or to foster something or someone. And to foster is to care for. So today I am inviting you to connect with the spiritual dimension inside of you by devoting yourself to caring for the bliss within you. How can you bring it into your life? How can you cherish it, tend to it? While only you can truly answer that question in your own unique experience of your bliss, Shunya does give us some ideas. And so she says, bliss is your own innermost nature. In fact, whenever the senses are turned inward through meditation or self-contemplation, Ananda quietly reveals itself from within. Now remember, Ananda is bliss, so it can reveal itself to you. And I want you to give bliss the chance to reveal itself to you this week. Set aside time to sit quietly with yourself in meditation or contemplation. And as you do so, extend warmth to yourself and to any part of you that is anxious or afraid. Give yourself care. Shunya teaches that bliss is naturally self-revealing. We don't make it happen. We allow it to unfold. And here she writes, a mind that is no longer seeking fulfillment and happiness in the world, but sources them from within by knowledge of its divine origins and its connection with the universal intelligence, is a sovereign mind because it is established in its own fullness. Such a mind feels radically content even while we live our routine lives. Is it possible for you to feel radically content even while living through a global pandemic? You know, this reminds me that all of life is an experiment. And I have good news, bad news. There is no normal. There's only what's unfolding now. And the goal isn't to get as much as you can or achieve as much as you can. What if the goal were to allow the bliss within you to reveal itself? What if you were dedicated to caring for the self with a capital S? What might you do? What might you not do? The intelligence, guidance, and wisdom you seek lives in the self inside of you. And Shunya teaches us that your own unbelievable destiny is to be truly happy, truly peaceful, and truly sovereign. She writes, Vedic scripture informs us that we are the source of happiness that we seek, that our very nature is boundless happiness, fullness, peace, and bliss. This is what's within you. How might you access it this week? I invite you to let go of what used to be and embrace what can be. Spend time in meditation, contemplation, and consciously caring for yourself. Release attachment to how things used to be and embrace a new possibility, a new reality. Could it be that this life is not just an experiment, but it's also a treasure hunt? What gifts are waiting for you to discover now? How might you allow this bliss, this who you naturally are, to unfold? And so it is. As we're just going to take this into prayer treatment now, as we take a moment to recognize the universal infinite truth that each one of us is a cherished expression of the divine, of the self with a capital S, that each one of us is infinite, that our true nature is bliss. And so I just allow this to be true today. I allow this truth to be more stable, to be stronger than the fear, to be stronger than the doubt. I simply ground myself in this truth and recognizing I can see it for others, so therefore it is true for me as well. That the truth of each one of us is that we are loved beyond nature, beyond measure, that we are fully embraced, empowered, and that we are meant to live this full and happy life that is of a beneficial presence to others. So I just breathe that all in, knowing that this week presents many opportunities to stand in this truth, to be this truth, to share this truth, and to magnify this truth. I am so grateful to know that the self with the capital S is always here, no matter what is happening. That there is a source of vibrant life within each one of us. And I give such great thanks that this community is all about revealing that truth, individually and collectively. The time is now to be of service, to show up, whatever that looks like now, whatever that looks like next. I give thanks for this experiment, for this treasure hunt, for this life. I let it be, and so it is.
Thank you, Rev Cassandra. Here at CSL White Rock, we create sacred opportunities for personal empowerment and collective transformation through wholehearted experiences of truth and spirit. If you were inspired by today's music and message, as well as our weekly and monthly programs, we gratefully receive your gift, tithe, and offering. You can donate in 3 ways, which you'll see on your screen right now, through our website. You can mail us a check, and you can send an e-transfer, and all that information should be in the chat right now, or you can find it on our website. Please join me in declaring our prosperity affirmation. Divine love within blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.